15-year-old Nicole Vandenhurk left her grandmother's house early one morning and never came back. Her disappearance in 1995 would grip the Netherlands for decades, a mystery of loss, false confessions, and one extraordinary scientific breakthrough. Nicole Vandenhurk was born on July 4, 1980, in Erkelenz, Germany, under the name Nicole Techtmeier. She was the daughter of Angelica Techtmeier, a young mother striving to build a stable life. When Angelica began a relationship with a Dutch man named Ad Vandenhurk, their lives took a new direction. The family relocated to the Netherlands, where Angelica and Ad eventually married. Nicole, still a child, took her stepfather's surname and became known as Nicole Vandenhurk. For several years the family appeared ordinary and close-knit, adapting to life in Eindhoven. But in 1989, the marriage between Angelica and Ad fell apart. After the divorce, custody of Nicole was granted to Ad, a decision that created emotional distance within the family. Nicole's early adolescence was marked by constant transitions, shifting homes, adjusting to new schools, and searching for a sense of stability after her parents' separation. Tragedy struck again in April 1995, when Nicole's mother, Angelica, died by suicide in Tilburg. Nicole, only 15, was living with her grandmother in Tongleer, a district of Eindhoven in North Brabant. Those who knew her described her as kind, responsible, and gentle, a teenager who cared deeply for others despite personal hardship. On the early morning of Friday, October 6, 1995, 15-year-old Nicole Vandenhurk left her grandmother's home in Tongleer, a district of Eindhoven, around 5:10 a.m. She was cycling through the quiet streets toward her workplace at the Wonzel shopping center, where she held a temporary job during the holiday season. It was still dark, the air damp with early autumn mist. Nicole never arrived. By midday, concern grew among her family and colleagues when she failed to appear or return home. As hours passed, unease turned into fear. That evening at approximately 18:00, police discovered her bicycle submerged in the river Dommel. It was the first tangible clue, but it offered no explanation. Days later, on October 19, her rucksack was found near Eindhoven's canal, deepening the sense of mystery surrounding her disappearance. Authorities launched an extensive search effort across the region. Divers scoured waterways while ground teams combed through wooded areas, fields, and abandoned sites. Despite their relentless work, the investigation produced no trace of the missing girl. For weeks hope faded with each passing day. Then on November 22, a passerby walking through the woods between Meerlo and Lierop made a grim discovery. Hidden among the leaves lay Nicole's body. Her remains bore unmistakable signs of violence, a fatal stab wound, broken jawbones, and severe head injuries. She was only 15 years old. Nicole's funeral was held shortly after. Nearly 1,000 mourners gathered to say their goodbyes, filling the air with grief and disbelief. What began as a missing persons case had become a brutal murder, one that would mark the beginning of one of the Netherlands' most haunting and complex criminal investigations. The early investigation into the murder of 15-year-old Nicole Vandenhurk was filled with confusion, false leads, and growing frustration. On October 24, 1995, weeks before her body was discovered, police received an anonymous phone call. The caller claimed to know who had killed Nicole but ended the call abruptly before revealing a name. Investigators traced the number, but it led nowhere. When the recording was broadcast on national television in January 1996, the mysterious caller never came forward. By the beginning of 1996, the case had stalled. Due to lack of progress, the original investigation team was reduced to just 4 detectives. Each worked tirelessly, but the evidence was scarce and the leads unreliable. Rumors circulated rapidly throughout Eindhoven, and the public's demand for answers mounted with each passing week. Police questioned several individuals, including Nicole's stepfather and stepbrother, but both were quickly cleared of any involvement. Complicating matters further, a family acquaintance already in custody for drug trafficking claimed that Nicole's death was connected to organized crime. His statements, however, were inconsistent and ultimately deemed unreliable. Despite public appeals for information and a reward offered by Passy magazine, no credible witnesses emerged. As the months passed, the investigation gradually lost momentum, the trail had gone cold, and the sense of hope that once surrounded the case began to fade. Limited forensic technology and the absence of solid evidence left investigators without a path forward. What remained was only frustration, a growing realization that Nicole's killer might never be found. In 2011, more than 15 years after the tragic death of 15-year-old Nicole vandenhurk, the case resurfaced in an unexpected and controversial way. Nicole's stepbrother, Andy vandenhurk, who was then living in England, made a shocking post on Facebook. In it, he claimed responsibility for Nicole's murder, a confession that instantly reignited national attention. Within hours, Dutch authorities contacted British police, and Andy was arrested before being extradited to the Netherlands for questioning. However, what initially appeared to be a long-awaited breakthrough quickly began to crumble under scrutiny. Investigators found no physical evidence, no eyewitnesses, and no corroborating details linking Andy to the crime. During interrogation, inconsistencies in his statement grew apparent, and 5 days after his arrest he was released without charges. His confession, once viewed as a major turning point, was revealed to be false. Later, Andy publicly explained his motive, stating that his confession had been deliberate but not criminal. He said he wanted to compel authorities to reopen Nicole's case and exhume her remains for advanced forensic testing, believing modern DNA analysis could finally expose the true killer. His unorthodox act, though reckless, achieved precisely that outcome. The confession stirred intense media coverage and renewed public interest in the long cold case. Under mounting pressure, investigators established a cold case review team to reassess every piece of evidence. That decision ultimately led to the exhumation of Nicole's body in September 2011, a move that would later uncover crucial DNA evidence and identify new suspects. Though Andy's statement was false, its impact proved extraordinary. His controversial confession became the unlikely spark that reignited the pursuit of truth in one of the Netherlands' most haunting unsolved murders. Following the exhumation of Nicole vandenhurk's body in September 2011, forensic experts made a discovery that would change the course of the investigation. Using advanced DNA profiling, unavailable in the mid-1990s, they identified traces of male DNA on her remains. The analysis revealed 2 distinct profiles, one belonging to Nicole's boyfriend at the time, and another belonging to an unknown male. It was this unidentified DNA that became the focal point of renewed police efforts. Forensic laboratories meticulously re-examined every available piece of evidence, including clothing fibers, hair strands, and biological material recovered from the crime scene. In January 2014, after years of testing and cross-referencing, investigators received a critical match. The unidentified DNA corresponded to a 46-year-old man named Joost de Gay, a convicted rapist who had previously served prison time for sexual assault. His DNA matched not only the semen found on Nicole's remains, but also a hair sample recovered from her jacket, leaving little room for doubt. The breakthrough was monumental. Modern DNA sequencing had finally achieved what 1990s technology could not, a conclusive link between Nicole's murder and a known offender. Investigators traced Joost de Gay's criminal history and found chilling similarities between Nicole's case and a 2000 rape in Valkenswaard. In both instances, the victim had been overpowered, assaulted in a secluded area, and left abandoned, the same brutal pattern that defined his earlier crimes. For Nicole's family, the revelation brought a fragile sense of closure after nearly 2 decades of uncertainty. For detectives, it reignited determination to bring justice to a case long thought unsolvable. The cold case that had haunted Eindhoven for years was finally on the verge of resolution, guided by the silent power of DNA. When the case finally reached court in 2015, nearly 20 years after Nicole vandenhurk's death, the entire prosecution hinged on a single element: DNA. No witnesses, no confessions, no clear timeline, just fragments of biological evidence collected in 1995, long after exposure to rain, soil, and time. These samples, though crucial, were partially degraded, challenging scientists to extract clarity from uncertainty. To ensure accuracy, forensic experts from 3 institutions were brought in: the Netherlands Forensic Institute, ESR New Zealand, and Cybergenetics USA. Each lab reanalyzed the genetic material independently using advanced probabilistic software, STAR-Mix, and TrueAllele. These programs allowed scientists to interpret mixed and degraded DNA profiles through complex statistical modeling. Their findings revealed 2 dominant male profiles, one belonging to Nicole's boyfriend, and another matching Jos de G, a man already convicted of a previous sexual assault. But the samples also contained faint, inconclusive peaks, traces that could not be confidently identified. The defense seized upon this ambiguity, arguing that contamination or consensual contact might explain the presence of Jos de G's DNA. They questioned every technical step, from evidence storage in 1995 to modern-day analysis, emphasizing that science, no matter how advanced, could not transform uncertainty into proof. Prosecutors, however, countered with the sheer improbability of coincidence. According to statistical estimates, the chance that Jos DNA appeared by accident was 1 in 2.28 million. They argued that probability this extreme pointed not to contamination, but to guilt. The courtroom became a battleground between science and skepticism, a place where equations and testimony collided. As experts debated the meaning of degraded strands of DNA, the trial tested not only the evidence itself, but the limits of forensic interpretation. In the end, the question remained: could numbers alone prove the truth? Jos DNA's trial began on November 20, 2015, marking a turning point in one of the Netherlands' most enduring murder cases. The prosecution charged him with rape and manslaughter, arguing that his DNA on Nicole vandenhurk's remains was irrefutable evidence of his involvement. The defense countered with a different narrative, claiming that any sexual contact between Jos and Nicole had been consensual and that he had no role in her death. During the hearings, witnesses recalled chilling conversations from years earlier in which Jos had allegedly boasted about killing a girl after she mocked him. Yet no clear motive or direct link between those statements and Nicole's murder could be conclusively established. On November 24, 2016, after months of legal debate and expert testimony, the court delivered a divided judgment. Jos de G was found guilty of rape, but not of manslaughter. Judges cited unresolved DNA inconsistencies and the absence of conclusive physical evidence tying him directly to Nicole's killing. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, a decision that outraged both the public and Nicole's family. Prosecutors immediately announced their intention to appeal the ruling. 2 years later, in August 2018, the appeal trial opened. Once again, prosecutors demanded a 14-year sentence, arguing that the totality of DNA evidence and behavioral patterns clearly implicated Jos in both crimes. On October 9, 2018, the appellate court overturned the previous verdict, convicting Jos de G of both rape and manslaughter, and increasing his sentence to 12 years. In April 2020, the Dutch Supreme Court upheld the conviction, rejecting all remaining appeals, and finally closing the case. After nearly 25 years, the long search for justice concluded. The verdict represented not just closure for Nicole's family, but a symbol of how perseverance and evolving forensic science could triumph over time and uncertainty. Nicole vandenhurk's murder stands as one of the Netherlands' most defining cold cases, a tragic story that evolved into a landmark example of perseverance, justice, and scientific progress. Her case bridged 2 eras of investigation, one defined by the limitations of 1990s forensic methods, and the other by the transformative precision of modern DNA technology. Yet it was the persistence of Nicole's family, especially their refusal to let her memory fade, that reignited public attention and forced authorities to reopen the investigation. The case's turning point, her stepbrother's false confession in 2011, revealed not deceit but desperation. It was an act meant to compel investigators to re-examine evidence long neglected. Though his words were untrue, they inadvertently sparked the very chain of events that would lead to Nicole's killer. Her story reshaped how the Dutch justice system views cold case methodology, privacy laws, and the ethical boundaries of DNA technology. It became a national talking point, prompting debates about how far forensic science should reach and how justice must balance truth with integrity. Nicole's legacy is more than a verdict, it is a reflection of endurance. Her case demonstrated that time, while cruel and unrelenting, does not erase the possibility of resolution. Through years of loss and uncertainty, her story transformed into a symbol of hope for families still waiting for answers, a reminder that even after decades, truth can still be unearthed. Today, Nicole Vandenhurk's name endures, not merely as a victim, but as a catalyst for change in the pursuit of justice.